Hello everyone and welcome back to Age Nagash, which channel dedicated to Age Sigmar. And in this video what I wanted to do, as it's the first one since coming back from tournament, is talk about the tournament with you guys and do a bit of a debrief and just basically talk about all the wonderful people I met up there. However, I've been sort of waiting for photos which Warhammer community took of the tournament of lots of different armies, and I was going to add them into this video, as I sort of expected Warhammer community to have already uploaded those photos to like the community site or something along those lines, so I could actually get access to them. Unfortunately, I have not done so. So I don't really want to go into the tournament video just now because I don't have all the, I don't have all the photos, all that sort of thing. It'd be nice to do it all properly when they come up online. I'm sure that's going to be by the end of this weekend at the latest, and then I should hopefully be able to knock up a video for that. And what is also awesome up there is that I met a subscriber. Apologies mate, I'm really bad at names, so I'm afraid I have forgotten it already. However, I can remember the main things in your army. You had a Neferata, you had a Vampire Lord on a Zombie Dragon, you had a Coven Throne, and you had, I want to say, 10 Direwolves and some Grimghast Reapers. There's probably more there, but I remember how it was painted and it was green on the bases and all those sorts of things. Anyway, it was great to meet you. That's what I'm trying to say. But I want to talk about the sort of results of the tournament in a video where I have all the photos and stuff, so I can really go into detail rather than just sort of covering it and not really covering it. But all my opponents were absolutely fantastic, so if any of you are listening to this, it was really good to meet you. Right, okay, so going into this video, what I want to do is talk a little bit about tactics, and this is not really specific to any grand alliance or, faction or something along those lines. I will be using a reference from a certain faction for this tactic, and what the tactic I want to be talking about is bubble wrapping your units and shielding them. And this is something which probably a lot of you already do. There might be some of you who don't do this, there might be some of you who wonder what is it. So essentially what I call a bubble wrap unit, some people call it a shield wall, some people call it chaff, anything along those lines, is essentially a weaker unit you put in front of one of your more elite units to be basically a charging buff for when the enemy wants to charge your elite unit. They're going to have to charge through the bubble wrap you put in front. The enemy kills the bubble wrap, then that means it's your turn to activate a unit. Your elite unit who the enemy wanted to charge is within 3 inches of the enemy, and then they can charge them. So that is what a bubble wrap unit is. It's basically a buffer for the enemy to charge. They wipe out whatever unit was the bubble wrap unit, and then because they are within 3 inches of your elite unit, they can, like I say, just pile in and attack and kill whatever the enemy elite unit was. So in turn, you're trading a weak unit, what got destroyed, for the enemy strong unit. So in depth, and when I say depth, I mainly mean Legions of Nagash, the best bubble wrap unit there is by far is going to be the Direwolves, as they are potentially the best unit in the game for how many points they are. For what they do, they are absolutely amazing. So I'll be putting up a picture on the screen around about now of the Direwolves I took to the tournament. This is a unit of 10 I took. Like I say, I'll go into the tournament stuff in the later video, but these Direwolves I used as a screen for the Morgosh you can see behind them. Now, the Morgosh is a unit of 6. The Direwolves is a unit of 10. And the Direwolves cost me 120 points for a unit of 10 of them. And the Morgosh cost me 660 points for a unit of 6. So a little bit of a price comparison there. Obviously, the Morgosh are better. And that's why I have the Direwolves in front of them, to protect them from enemy charges. As in this game, I was playing against a Khorne army. So if you're wondering, if you know a bit about bubble wrap units and still watching, and you're wondering, well, there's a few gaps and stuff behind the Direwolves, where if you're playing against, Idoneth Deepkin as an example, they could fly over and they could charge and they could go in the gaps and kill, or flesh it courts, something along those lines. That is very true. However, I was playing against Khorne, and this Khorne army, the only flying units it had was Skylar, I believe, for when he piles in. I might be wrong, and if the person who I was playing against is watching this, apologies if I can't exactly remember, because I know Scarbrand can't fly as far as I'm aware ever since Khorne basically, rips into pieces. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is this Direwolf unit made it so if the enemy wanted to charge me, they were going to have to charge the Direwolf unit. And the player I was playing is a fantastic guy. Army was, I said it to him multiple times and I still mean it, the best Khorne army I've ever seen painted. And obviously he's a very good adept general. So he knew that obviously if he charged from Direwolves, that my Morghast will then be able to pile in and kill whatever he charged the direwolves with. So he decided, you know, not to charge the direwolves. And in return, what that meant is that he wouldn't be charging my Morghast, which meant that I basically was protected. So it's not just purely on that game where all this came into it, but basically this is just a good photo I have of the demonstration. So I thought I'd use it in this one, and it really emphasized just how powerful that was. It prevented the enemy from charging me. I will say also in that game, like I say, I'll go into the game and stuff in a later video, but in that game I did also spectral grasp basically his whole army, so his whole army was moving barely anything. I crippled his army really nasty, and you know, Nagash was being a bit of a dick, shall we say. So there was also that played a part of it, but he had his blood crushers, I believe, that could charge, but he decided not to, because what would be the point? Me and him had a little discussion where it's like, you know, there's no point charging direwolves because the Morghast will just pile in and do what they do best, which is basically Order 66 from Star Wars. So what he did was obviously held back, didn't charge blood crushers in, and that meant they didn't die. But what that meant for me is that by having a unit that costs 120 points, which is the direwolves, and this for a unit of 10, it's 20 wounds, as each one of them has 2 wounds. They've each got a 5-up save. They're not bad in combat. They've got a movement of 10, which means that they can more than easily keep in front of the Morghast, as the Morghast's got a movement of 9, so they've each got a movement 1 inch more. And like I said, they can handle themselves a little bit in combat. And for when the Morghast then did the charge, as they did later on in the game, they could just fly over the dogs and charge the enemy. So it wasn't even like, oh, the dog's got to move out of the way. For me, for that purpose, the Morghast could already fly, so they could literally just use them as a bubble wrap and then fly over and kill whatever was in front. And I believe when they fly over and attack the enemy, they killed a unit of 10 Blood Reavers, I think 3 Blood Crushers, a other unit of 10 Blood Reavers, and I think that was all that was in range. And then later in that game, I had to attack his Wrathmongers, and then the Wrathmongers died and made me kill myself horrendously, and he did really well, the Khorne player, and so on and so on. But for the start of the game anyway, the protection of the bubble wrap unit of the direwolves worked brilliantly. And also the great thing about the direwolves were, once, you know, they've done their job, once for me anyway, the unit of Morghast have, you know, jumped over, they've done their charge, they're locked into combat, and they're sort of going to stay there. The direwolves can now also join the fight, as you know, like a bit of a harassing unit, or they can go to hold objectives, which I'll go through my army list properly when I talk about the tournament. But basically, I had a very elite army. The only big units of models, if you like, and the unit of 10 was the biggest being those direwolves, were the direwolves. So they were the objective capturing, while the Morghast and the Nagash were the damage dealing units. So they had a huge job. Basically, for that list, the Morghast and Nagash were the, you know, the hammer, you know, if you like. You know, they were the things that were going to damage the enemy, get in the enemy's face, and the enemy's going to have to deal with them. However, the direwolves were the units that were doing all the hard work, because they did multiple purposes. Like I said, the bubble wrap units stopped the enemy from charging my Morghast, and it wasn't just in that game, it happened in every single game. They were there, and that's what their job did. There was a couple of occasions where, not just at the tournament, but it's happened before, where people would charge them, the direwolves in a bit of a bloodlust, and then they kill them, and then they realise what happens when the Morghast pile in. Or not even just the Morghast, but things like, I've used direwolves to bubble wrap Nagash. I used direwolves for anything, like just bubble wrap a Graveguard, a Vargeist, even used them in a Flesh Eater Court army to bubble wrap my Crypt Flares and stuff, and then I realised I don't really need to bubble wrap them, because if you take a unit of 12 of them, they just don't really die. So direwolves are fantastic. Now, I said I wouldn't just talk about any sort of specific Grand Alliance or faction, and it sort of turns out I have. The only reason for that is because direwolves are the best units for their points for a bubble wrap purpose, or a shield purpose, or a chaff purpose, whatever people want to call it. There's nothing really in the other Grand Alliances that do it, and I say the other Grand Alliances, I mean the other armies. That's the thing, and Legions and the Nagash army, the direwolves are benefiting from the death save. They can be healed from grave sites, they can be healed from heroes and all those sorts of things. They're not allies to the army, they're just going to benefit like everything else in the army, which is absolutely fantastic. And like I say, I do apologise for just talking about direwolves when I sort of said at the start of the video that's specifically what I wasn't going to do. But direwolves, let's face it, they're hands down the best unit for the job on this. They're also, the other thing in Legions of the Nagash, they are battle line units, you know, they count towards it. So yeah, fantastic. They're not like, you know, you can use them as the attacks that you need for your battle line units. So it's absolutely great if you want to take those elite armies. And if you're taking elite armies, obviously that means that you've got big, juicy, strong units. And they're big in the sense of they're just, you know, multiple models, or they are, you know, elite infantry, something along those lines, or monsters. And the dogs can protect them all the same. And I know there are things like Flesh-Eater Courts now, which is like, yeah, I've attacked and killed your bubble wrap unit, but now I'm just going to pile and attack you and kill you again. That is very true. They can do that. That is a thing now in the game. You know, there are things that can pile and attack twice. However, let's just look at it as if you didn't have the direwolves and you had a big unit of Morghast or a big unit of Graveguard, something like that, and the big nasty Terrorgeist piles in and attacks your Graveguard unit, your Morghast unit, twice without the bubble wrap unit, then there's pretty much almost certainty that that big elite unit you had is no longer a thing. At least if you've got the bubble wrap in front of it, it means that your elite unit has got a chance of surviving, and if it has, then it can hit back at the enemy and give them a rather nasty headache. Okay, so that's that. If you are looking for them in different Grand Alliances and armies, essentially what you are looking for is I just compared to the direwolves. So what you're looking for are models with low cost, hopefully a battle line option, but that's, you can't always get that. So mainly low cost and alright armor save. What I mean alright, a 6 up or 5 up armor save is fine. And the main thing you're looking for is, like I say, for their points to be cheap. So when you're chucking them away, you're not losing too much. You know, like, oh, the enemy charged me, they wiped them out. That's not a big deal because now I'm going to attack with the thing they were protecting. And then the other main thing you're looking for is the size of their base, and this is also what makes the direwolves really, really effective, as they've got big bases, they've got cavalry bases. The size of their bases are the same size as the eels for the IDNF Deeping, for example, and what that means is that they can have a huge coverage for the front of your unit to really, really protect it. So you've got a unit here that has, well, as an example, if you look at the picture I had with the direwolves in front of the Morghast, it just shows how much coverage they have. In that shot, I actually have to fold some of them around them, so sort of like double rank the direwolves a little bit to just make them fit in that gap, and that gap was like the size of a tile, because that's how big they are, and gave me more than enough coverage to protect that unit of 6 Morghast. And when you're looking for the other things, so maybe if you've got a generic destruction army, you've got a, you know, what I was going to call Moonclan Grots, but Gloomspite Grots they're called now, or, you know, like Iron Jaws, something like that. If they can ally, maybe Goblin Wolf Riders, not too sure how many points they are, but they've probably got a good size base for the job. And yeah, they might not be very good, but they would do that job perfectly because of the size of their base. And I don't think there really is anything which can compare to the direwolves for that job, because I looked at the Chaos Warhounds for the Grand Alliance Chaos, obviously, or just not particularly Grand Alliance Chaos, but, you know, the factions that can ally them in, or Monsters of Chaos as they are, Beasts of Chaos even, and they are not as cheap as the direwolves as far as I'm aware, so they're not as good there, and they're not battle line. But the other great thing about the direwolves is means when they die, if you've got a command point and your general's still alive and within range of a gravesite, he can just bring them back. So this video is, like I said, I was talking about what bubble wrap units are and shielding units, but really has just turned into why direwolves are one of the best units in the game, if not the best for their role. Right, okay guys, so I think I'm going to end the video here. Like I said, this video I really wanted to talk about the tournament and show all the pictures and like tell you my experiences and all the fantastic people I met and their great looking armies. However, I want to wait until I get those official photos from Games Workshop to do it, you know, from the community, because then I can make the video look better. So today I basically wanted to make a video for you guys. In the meantime, it's been a little while since I made my last video, and I didn't want to wait too long just in case they don't put up the pictures until the end of the week. I don't think that'd be fair for you guys. Right, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a little bit different. It's been a bit interesting. It's been a little bit more just talking about generic tactics, not anything specific. Well, I say not anything specific. It's basically me just talking about direwolves for the last 15 minutes. However, it's still been... Bubble wrap is a very important thing. If you understand this already, you probably stopped listening to the video a long time ago. But if you don't really understand bubble wrap, let's say you're brand new to Age of Sigmar. You have your cool unit, and the enemy has their cool unit. And basically, whichever one charges the other one wins. So it's just purely down to luck of the dice. Now, If you don't want to take so much of a risk, which is very much advisable, you put a cheap unit in front of your very cool unit, so if you do not get the priority and the enemy charges you, at least they are only going to kill the weak things in front instead of your cool things behind. That's essentially what it is, and that's why bubble wrap units are so important. Right guys, so that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you very much enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe and comment down below, as that's all free for you to do so and massively supports the channel in a huge way that, like I say, is free for you guys to do, and really does help the channel grow. And also, if you would like to support the channel a step further, I have actually now set up a Patreon account. And the reason why I have done this is to prevent me from having to put adverts on the videos to try and get money that way, because as a YouTuber I don't get paid any money by YouTube. So essentially Patreon allows me to get that bit of support from you guys without me having to put adverts on the videos. Like I've said countless times before, I don't want adverts on the videos. It's really annoying, isn't it? So let's just try and stay away from all of that by going a different route, as the money I get from Patreon really does help towards things like battle tones, trying to save up for a better microphone, trying to get a camera and trying to get software and things like that, and really just to help motivate me to continue to make these videos, which I hope you guys enjoy. So like I say, if you'd like to support the channel a step further, there will be a link to my Patreon in the description of this video, so you're more than welcome to go check it out. And on that note, I would very much like to thank the tier 2 people who support me on Patreon, and these are the vampire tiers I call it. So these are people who give at least $5 a month, and this is going to be to Max, Simon and Carl. So again guys, thank you very much for your continued support. It's all generally being saved up, and I think I'm going to put it towards a microphone, as I think that would probably be the best thing for you guys to get. Let me know down in the comments what you would like next sort of purchase for the channel to be, or it could be like a camera, so I could try and start doing more battle reports, as that's something that the tournaments may want to do. It's difficult very much at work at the moment because, like I say, politics and stuff. However, I definitely want to try and have more and more games of Age of Sigmar. That's something I have been missing, and I really found that at the tournament. I felt like I sort of caught off my feet a little bit a few times when I was just playing the game. Like how some of the rules have changed in second edition, even just the realms and stuff like that. I was like, or the senior rules and stuff, caught me a little bit off guard. Which obviously I knew about, but when you're in these intense moments of the games, it's sort of you know, there's a lot to take in, and I really recognise that, as I haven't had many games since second edition. I have had, you know, don't get me wrong, I've had quite a few games, but nothing compared to how many games I had in first edition. So I would really like to have more games in Age of Sigmar, and I think a good way to do that would be to do battle reports for the channel. And I know that's something you guys like to see. I did try that out a little bit before, but it would be nice to try and do it a bit more, as I do enjoy the Army Archive series I'm doing. I really do enjoy it. I know some of you guys really do like it, and it's really nice to give attention to those smaller armies. But I think, unless you guys are if you're happy for my channel just basically to purely be the Army Archive, that's absolutely fine. But if you guys would like me to do a different series of contents as well, so instead of all just being the Army Archive, I actually go and talk about different parts of Age of Sigmar. That could be a thing you'd like to see, as long as like battle reports, and basically so I just don't do one series for the whole of the channel. I do lots of different series to cater to people's sort of like enjoyment of what content they like. So like I say, any comments and stuff you want to leave them down below, it's absolutely great. If you've got advice on bubble wrap units and like dials and all those sort of things, but mainly for what the bubble wrap units are for the other Grand Alliances or factions, you know, what do Stormcast use? What do I don't know, what do Wanderers use? What do Blades of Khorne use? What do Beasts of Chaos use? What do Skaven use? All these things would be really cool. As the great thing we've got now is allies. I mean, I know we've had allies for quite a while, but that really allows you to add in cheap units to your army if you don't really have any in your army itself. Right guys, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like I say, if you want to give me any comments, any suggestions on videos, anything like that, something you'd like to see, let me know down below in the comments. I'm going to try to get a tournament video up this week, because I really like to. I just want to wait for Games Workshop to post those pictures, essentially. If you see them posted anywhere, like basically be titled, I think, Throne of Skulls tournament or something like that, let me know, and I will definitely go and download the pictures and start working on that video. So like I say guys, until next time, thank you very much for watching this, and remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.